Come and see. How many times have we heard or uttered that phrase? It is filled with memories and meanings of things that we are proud of and just can't wait to share, of things and times that we've just been in shock. We can't believe what we're seeing, and we know nobody else will unless they lay eyes on it themselves. It can let people know our absolute exasperation. Just come and see. I'll prove it. And it also remains one of the greatest evangelistic statements we could ever make. Just come and see for yourself what this is all about. It's the perfect phrase for Epiphany, this time of appearing and of illumination. But rather than being straightforward illuminating, our scripture today shows Jesus almost like an illusionist, with Nathanael being absolutely wowed by what Jesus already knows. He acts so shocked and surprised, it's like he's just seen some sort of magic trick. And often we see that with the disciples' call stories, that there is something magical, mystical happening in the background. They are so wowed and so wooed by Jesus that they're willing to drop everything immediately, on an instant, and follow. And it's not clear to us as the readers, as the ones experiencing the scriptures, as to what that something is. Our faith can feel that way sometimes. There are moments of great clarity and connection when we too are wowed and enamored and know exactly why we believe in Jesus, and we are willing to give our whole heart to God and follow with abandon, participate in church. And there are other times when it just doesn't seem as clear to us, that we are a bit disillusioned around things. Sometimes we wonder what it's all about. And our faith can feel very much like, now you see it, now you don't. But when it comes to this, now you see it, now you don't, I'm reminded that there is a lot of psychology to the art of magic. Illusionists use the art of misdirection and cognitive illusion. They have the ability to make us think we know the solution to the trick. And while we are looking for proof on what we already know the answer is, we can't see what's very plainly right in front of our face, what's actually going on. And I think sometimes Jesus feels like such an illusionist because this is exactly what happens in our faith life. We are so convinced we know what's going on. We know the answers. We know what we know. And we're not looking for anything different in our faith life, in our everyday life. So sometimes we just don't see it. I know this is the case in our scripture today. We came off of a scripture from last week where everyone was so convinced that John the Baptist was the one that they couldn't see Jesus even when he was standing in the crowd among them. Not until John pointed him out and said, That's the guy. Him, right there. And we see that as a theme running through, especially the Gospel of John. And I know we were in Mark last week, and I told you we were going to be in Mark this year, but I also told you what an action-packed gospel it is, and it's so short, we need some filler. So we see this as a theme. Sometimes people see Jesus for exactly who he is. The woman at the well springs to mind. And sometimes, like Mary standing at the tomb, encountering Jesus, thinking he's the gardener, he's right in front of her. She's known him intimately, and yet she doesn't recognize him until he speaks. The disciples on the fishing boat, again, after Jesus' resurrection, see him from afar, even engaged to the point of saying, "Hey, did you catch any fish?" And he invites them once again, "Come and see." Sometimes we see, sometimes we don't. But I don't think that's deception on Jesus' part. Jesus remains throughout the Gospels, throughout our lives, the constant Good Shepherd. Jesus is who Jesus is. But sometimes we're too distracted to see that. And sometimes that's just because we're humans and that's who we are and we're not looking in the right place. But sometimes I do think Jesus is a bit of an illusionist. And it's not in any sort of a deceptive way. Maybe we are being called to concentrate on a certain aspect of our life. We're asked to look at that and pay attention to that because there is something that needs to be changed. There is something that needs to be learned. You know, when we are called by Jesus, by God, what you're looking for is repetition. Is your heart always being drawn back to the same things? There's something to that. I also think that sometimes Jesus keeps this bit of illusion, this bit of mystery, so that we are open to new ideas, that we're not always thinking we have the right answer, that we're willing to engage with other people, that we are willing to be in relationship with God, because we need that relationship, that back and forth. So we need to stay receptive. Jesus keeps us on our toes. We need the experience. So yes, this is the best evangelistic tool for ourselves and for others. We're not going to know it all based on books. And while there is room for those of us who want to put our little toe in first and not jump wholeheartedly into a life of faith, and for those who are willing to just take the plunge right away and become really involved and active wherever we find ourselves on that scale, there's room for us. But faith is something that has to be experienced, that has to be lived out. So this is your invitation by Jesus, our man of mystery. Come and see.